Well, after we've caught our breath after a very, very exciting drifting session there, we are back now to our racing action, or at least a qualifying session for a race that's coming up later on today. This for the Milltek Sports Civic Cup, the, well, supposed to be third race of the season, but one of the season openers at Cadwell Park sadly was cancelled due to some pretty abysmal weather that we were enduring up in the northeast. So only one race actually was able to take place. So this will be, we're hoping, the first full event for the Milltek Sports Civic Cup. And again, like the Touring Car Trophy and VW Cup competitors, they will have 3 races over the course of the day, the weekend, a qualifying and a race today, and then 2 races tomorrow as well. Also, like the Touring Car Trophy and VW competitors, they've had a practice session earlier on today, so we've got some benchmark times to go off, although again the track conditions made, so hopefully we'll see a little bit more pace out of the drivers. So who are the ones to watch? Well, it's hard to tell really, because we did only have that one race at Cadwell, and even that one took place underwater basically, so wet was the circuit. The other half were just sort of tootling around, doing their best not to fall off the track, and so Alistair Camp in the end was able to take a fairly comfortable victory. However, it wasn't that comfortable all the way through. He had some pretty stiff opposition from a couple of drivers really. Jamie Tonks came home second and Phil Wright came home in third place, but also up there with them for much of the race really was George Alp Williams, the youngest driver on the grid, the Welshman, who was running right on the tail of the leader all race long. Appalling conditions, a gearbox problem that in the end sent him off the road and into the barriers just before the red flags came out. So George Alp Williams ended up scoring not a huge amount of points, but we know that he's quick enough to beat a number of other drivers who fall into a similar category really, who are quite glad just to survive Cadwell Park and are now looking to try and really build a championship campaign from this weekend onwards. So a 15-minute qualifying session then, which is well underway now. We're, what, 2.5 minutes in, so tyres slowly but surely starting to get up to where they need to be. It won't take them quite as long to generate the tyre temperature as it did for our touring car competitors earlier on. These sickly, we see the majority of them running in the Cup class, and they are the EP3 shape Civic, all of these with VTEC engines of course, which is why they sound absolutely superb, brilliantly turned out cars as well. 2 classes of car though. The Cup class will be for the quicker cars, then we have a production-based car which will allow the drivers a bit of a first taste of what the Civic Cup is all about before they then move into presumably the Cup class afterwards. Both of those classes have their own separate championships, and in the Cup class, it was Mervyn Beckett that took the victory at Cadwell Park from Alfie Threlfall and Mark Hughes. So that is your Cup, your production class championship standings. So Dave Buki is quickest at the moment with a 54.679. That's about half a second slower than Jamie Tonks' lap time, which was the fastest from practice before. So that suggests there's a bit more time to be found. Tonks is actually second quickest at the moment, ahead of George Alp Williams, who comes through clearways now. George Alp Williams car bouncing around there over the bumps as it turns through the right-hander. Matt Luff now goes quicker, and that is a proper time now, 54.202. That is, I think I'm right in saying, quicker than the number 72 car went this morning. Yeah, Luff only did a 56.4 this morning, so Matt Luff has now gone to the top of the tyres. Matt Luff graduating, or moving across, I should say, from Mazda MX-5 racing, rear-wheel drive sports cars into front-wheel drive tin tops. That is quite the learning curve for him, but he's doing a really, really good job, is Matt Luff, 4th at Cadwell Park, and fastest at the moment in the session. The championship leader, Alistair Camp, is 2nd, and Dave Buki now down to 3rd, but Matt Luff is going quicker again, actually. He's purple in the first sector, so the number 72 car, which is coming around the final couple of corners now, is about to, I think, move the goalposts again and probably set the fastest lap of the day so far. His previous benchmark was a 54.202, and Matt Luff does now cross the line in the grey and yellow car and is slower. So forget everything I just said, building that one up after a really good first sector. He backed off, I think, in the second sector, possibly to avoid some traffic. So Luff still quickest then from Cam Vastar liveried number 4 car of Jamie Tonks has gone fastest. Jamie Tonks, who, as I said, finished runner-up at Cadwell Park last time out. Dan Thackeray here on screen, number 29, moving through Clearways corner. Dan Thackeray is currently 6th quickest in the session. In the production class, it's the championship leader and Cadwell winner, Mervyn Beckett, who is fastest, the number 32 car, the yellow machine, except he now gets pipped by the number 89, actually faster than Mervyn in practice by 66 one-thousandths of a second. He's a full nearly 2/10 quicker than Mervyn Beckett actually, in qualifying at the moment. Car 666, by the way, being shown as being off the tracks. 666 is Ben Mills, who was in the top 10 in practice. Ben Mills has only put one lap in, and is showing as having stopped out on track somewhere, possibly in the first sector. Looking out of the window, though, I can't see him anywhere, so I'm not sure what is going on there. Try and get an exclamation mark next to his name on the timing screen, which means that he is stopped trackside somewhere. We'll see whether or not he's able to get moving again as we move deeper into the session. 68 makes its way through then. That is Harry Threlfall, who is one of the production runners. In fact, Harry is third fastest at the moment in production. Can he improve then as he comes across the start-finish line? Threlfall does cross the timing beam now, was third in class, stays third in class because that's not an improvement in time at the moment. So with 8.5 minutes, just less than 8.5 minutes left on the clock, then it's Jamie Tonks fastest by 0.3 of a second now from Alistair Camp in second. Third place is the number 63 of Phil Wright. Fourth, Matt Luff. Fifth, Dave Buki. Sixth, Dan Thackeray. Ryan Bensley is seventh. Eighth place then for Morgan Bailey. George Al Williams has dropped down to ninth. And rounding out the top 10 is number 74, Robert Butler. So a couple of drivers there that ought to be a bit further up the order. Alt Williams and Butler in particular were both inside the top half dozen in practice. Alt Williams and Butler in particular were both inside the top half dozen in practice earlier on today. Looks like Dan Thackeray there just got held up a little bit there by the 47 car, I think, of Simon Waite as it came through clearways. So that surely is going to affect Thackeray's lap time. It does. Fails to improve that time. Got Alistair Camp in the pit lane meanwhile, the championship leader, but of course because we've only had one race, he's only 3 points up on Jamie Tonks, and Tonks at the moment has got him out qualified. He is on provisional pole, Jamie Tonks, with Luff. No, in fact, yes, now Luff goes second, so I was going to say it was Tonks from Camp on the front row, but Matt Luff has improved again to go second fastest. Also an improvement from Morgan Bailey to go sixth, so a few drivers as we approach, or in fact now move into the second half of the session, starting to find their feet a bit. Matt Luff was also faster through the speed trap along the start-finish straight than anybody else. A huge moment there through clearways. That was Phil Wright, number 63, who is really pushing hard. The rear of that car doesn't look stable. He's just been demoted down to fifth position as well after Dave Buki has jumped into fourth place. And I don't think Wright is likely to improve on this lap either, given just how wayward he looked through the final sector. We do have an improvement though for Dan Thackeray now that he's found some clean air. He goes fourth, so number 29 goes up 3 positions there from 7th to 4th, and only just under 3.5 tenths away from pole position. So Tonks is on pole and in the pit lane, but he's only 79 one-thousandths of a second ahead of Matt Luff in second. Alistair Camp in third, Dan Thackeray fourth, Dave Buki fifth. Phil Wright is sixth. Across the line there goes the number 66, which is Alfie Threlfall, who is now actually for third place in class. That is in the production class, with Peter Dell now only 69 one-thousandths clear of Mervyn Beckett in that category, so they're pretty much as tight now as they were. In fact, they were 66 thousandths apart after practice. They're 69 thousandths apart for the in qualifying. There goes the championship leader then, Ali Camp, through Graham Hill Bend, with George Alt Williams right behind him, and then Ryan Bensley. So 3 quick drivers there, just ahead of Alfie Threlfall. So the black car is in the production class, but the 3 cars ahead are all gunning for outright pole. We've had a personal best first sector for Dan Thackeray as he's moved up into third. So Alistair Camp actually finds himself down in fourth now. George Alt Williams goes for the pit lane. Did Alistair Camp manage to improve? His first sector wasn't all that special. The second sector for Alistair Camp gets completed now, and he improves on his lap, but doesn't quite take third place back away for Thackeray. You can see the improvement there notching up on the tower on the left-hand side of the screen. Alistair Camp 4/4 of a second away from third place. There goes Mervyn Beckett then. The yellow machine is our production class pole sitter at the moment because he's just improved, actually, moved ahead of Peter Dell by now 59 one-thousandths of a second, but it is the other way round now. Beckett, the championship leader, ahead of Peter Dell. Peter Dell finished only 6th in class at Cadwell Park, so Peter could do with getting that pole position, really, moving himself ahead of Mervyn Beckett, the points leader. the top of the tyres. Matt Luff with a 53.755, 81 thousandths quicker than Jamie Tonks now. So Matt Luff and Jamie Tonks keep on trading this provisional pole, don't they? Whilst Alistair Camp, the championship leader, does seem to be struggling a little bit now to match their pace. Camp is down to fourth quickest at the moment. George Alp Williams, I can see going back out of the pit lane, meanwhile below me. And Alp Williams, 9th position for him at the moment. Definitely would be looking to be a bit further up the order than that, ideally. Yeah, this is number 28 going through, which is Chris Mullen in the 2004 spec Civic, this actually, so one of the older cars on the grid. Bulk of the cars are from the early to mid-noughties, but there are a couple of newer builds, in particular Ryan Bensley's is a new build, and in fact Morgan Bailey, a brand new car for 2021, so Morgan Bailey at the moment struggling a bit, well 7th place, not too bad, but that is the newest car on the grid, but of course they're all built to the same set of regulations, so there shouldn't be a huge difference in performance between a slightly newer or slightly older car. But I guess the thought process is that you might have slightly fewer mechanical issues with a newer machine. I think I've got to the bottom, by the way, of the Ben Mills query earlier on. Ben is still showing us stopped on track, but there's also a message on the timing screen saying that he's still got no working transponder. So I think Mills is circulating, but the transponder isn't registering his time. So he may be being timed manually. It may be that he gets told, well, no, I'm sorry, we didn't register your lap time, so you have to start from the back of the grid. We'll see what comes of that. 3 minutes left in the qualifying session then. Matt Luff still on provisional pole by 81 of that. 3 minutes left in the qualifying session then. Matt Luff still on provisional pole by 81 thousandths over Jamie Tonks second. Number 4. Number 29, Dan Thackeray is third. Number 45, Alistair Camp is fourth. And number 51, Dave Buki in fifth. In the production class, it's number 32, Mervyn Beckett on pole by now actually 0.2 of a second. So he's found quite a chunk of time now. Oh, that was a close moment. Ryan Dalzell and Phil Wright getting a bit close for comfort there through Graham Hill Bend. But yes, Mervyn Beckett, 0.2 now clear of Peter Dell, 32 ahead of 89 in production class. And third place in production is Alfie Threlfall. Into 7th place overall goes George Alp Williams, so he's found a bit of an improvement there. And that was on, I think, his first flying lap out of the pit lane, so keep an eye on the number 5 car, the red and silver car, just heading down out of Druids, I think now, just negotiating a bit of back marker traffic. George Alp Williams, clearly they've tweaked the setup a bit there, and he's going a bit quicker now than he was earlier on. We're following group of cars a little bit further down the order. Ryan Dalzell, for example, the yellow car there, number 77, is 14th, but Alp Williams is personal best in the first sector again, so this is a bit more like it now for the man who was really unlucky to lose out on a podium last time at Cadwell Park. George Alp Williams is in the final sector now and about to come across the start-finish line. Can he improve on 7th place? He's only half a second off pole, but he's a 10.5 away from breaking into the top 6, and he does. He goes third. That is much more like it for George Alp Williams. Onto the second row of the grid then for the Welshman, the youngster. So inexperienced in racing is George, but he has just found another 0.2 of a second to jump into third on the grid. This is still your provisional pole sitter though, Matt Luff, coming down through Graham Hill Bend. He has been out of the pit lane for not that long actually. This is his first flying lap after completing an outlap from the pit lane a moment or two ago. 81 thousandths he is clear of Jamie Tonks from Alp Williams in third. Dan Thackeray there, who has just crossed the line actually in 4th place, had set a personal best in the first sector, but it came to nothing in the end in sector 2. Matt Luff then across the line. Is this going to be an improvement to extend his advantage out front? He's going to have time for 2 more laps just about in this session. Crosses the line with about 58 seconds on the clock. He's lapping in the 53 and 54 second bracket, but that one wasn't actually an improvement on that occasion. Have we seen any changes in production? Well, Peter Dell has improved in the number 89 car. He's still second on the grid in production, but now back to just 55 thousandths of a second slower than Mervyn Beckett. But not improving, neither of them improving, in fact, on their next laps. So running out of time then for significant changes here. Matt Luff looking good for pole because Jamie Tonks, although he's only 8/100ths of a second away from him, isn't improving and hasn't improved for a little while now. So looks as though Luff, barring any real dramatic improvements at the end of the session, should be able to hang on to this pole position, which he could do with really. 4th place at Cadwell, so a pole position and maybe a win here today would catapult him towards the top of the points, especially because the championship leader, Alistair Camp, is only 5th at the moment, although he did just set a personal best in the first sector. Checkered flag is out, and Alistair Camp goes third. So Alistair Camp, right at the death, jumps into third place. The championship leader finding a much-needed improvement there to clear both George Alt Williams and Dan Thackeray, who will end the session 4th and 5th respectively. Jamie Tonks has seen the checkered flag as well, so it looks like Matt Luff is going to do enough for the pole position. But only just. The top 3 cars covered by just over 1/10 of a second. Matt Luff from Jamie Tonks, from Alistair Camp, the championship leader, in 3rd. Alt Williams is 4th. Dan Thackeray is 5th. Dave Bootke is 6th position. Where's Phil Wright? Well, Phil Wright is only 7th, the man that was 3rd at Cadwell. So he is a little off the pace there, you'd have to say. 4/10 away from pole. Ryan Bailey then, Hawken Bailey, sorry, is 8th. Ryan Bensley 9th. And rounding out the top 10, number 74, was Robert Butler. Production class goes the way in the end of Mervyn Beckett. So Peter Dell got close but couldn't quite find that last half a tenth or so that he needed to take pole away. So Mervyn Beckett, number 32, is your production pole sitter, with Peter Dell 2nd and Alfie Threlfall 3rd, and actually separated from the top 2 by the 47 car, which was Simon Waite. And Simon Waite is a cup class car, but a little bit slower there than the top 2 productions. So we'll have a look then at the provisional grid for round number 2 of the Milltek Sports Civic Cup. Matt Luff gets pole position from Jamie Tonks, 2nd quickest. Alistair Camp is 3rd, with George Alt Williams alongside him on road 2. Then it's Dan Thackeray and Dave Bootke, Phil Wright and Morgan Bailey, with Ryan Bensley and Rob Butler rounding out that top 10. Then it's Ross Darlington 11th. 12th position will go the way of Bradley Lane. And then it will be Mullen, Dalzell and McHugh to round out the top 15. Then Mervyn Beckett. Mervyn Beckett with the production pole 16th overall, ahead of Peter Dell. Then it will be Alfie Threlfall 3rd in that class, ahead of number 16, Mark Hughes. So Civic Cup qualifying is over. Their first race will be up at about 4 o'clock later on this afternoon. I'm going to head back downstairs now and have a chat, hopefully live on air, with the Civic Cup class pole sitters. So Alexi, for the time being, back over to you.
Thanks, Andy. While Andy heads downstairs to try to catch some of our top qualifiers, let's just take a look at our results so far. Those of you who were following along at Cadwell Park will realize that, of course, today is quite a different proposition, not least because it is, so far, fingers crossed, touch wood, dry. So, of course, we can see that the order has changed around a little bit. We were facing very tricky conditions at Cadwell Park. And so our drivers then are dealing with quite a different challenge today at Brands Hatch Indy. That being said, then, we have Matt Luff. Oh, my timing screens have just been cleared. So it's going to be tricky to run you through those results, given that my timing screen has just been cleared, but I think we can all agree, it was some real excitement in the final seconds of that session, with Alistair Camp, the championship leader, looking like he would finish in 5th, managing to do a little bit of a smash and grab in the final seconds of qualifying to take 3rd. Super impressive stuff there from Alistair Camp. And sorry, I thought I heard the pit lane microphone, but I may have been mistaken. And of course, elsewhere, you know, the performance from Matt Luff, Dave Bootke, Phil Wright, and so on. Like it's the stuff that we've come to know and love in the Civic Cup. So it's great to see. Meanwhile, I can see the time attack entrance heading out onto the circuit. It's a very slick operation here today, so these things are really running back to back to back to back. Absolutely no let up. And with the super tight scheduling that we do have, it looks like we may struggle to fit in the podium interviews, given that the time attack session is now well and truly underway. Just waiting for confirmation there from the TV crew. Andy perhaps Trying to find somebody to speak to right now.
Well, down here then with our pole sitters, we're going to start with Mervyn Beckett, who's on the production pole. I'll tell you what, it's going to be tight this weekend, isn't it? 55,000s between the top two in the session.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was expecting it to be Alfie, but Pete Dow is certainly firing this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's been close between you and Pete in practice and in qualifying. It's going to be the same in the race, right?
Yeah, he got behind me part of that qualifying, and I could see that he was certainly up for the game that we're going to have, a battle this next race.
Obviously, Cadwell went pretty well for you, although I know you were basically just happy to survive that race. Dry conditions at the moment, though, so you can really find out what the car's capable of.
Yeah, definitely, and then it's interesting because, of course, Pete being new to Civics, it's going to be very interesting that hopefully I can just keep us me in front, and then hopefully we have a battle with a few of the Civic Cup guys that hopefully we might be able to get a car between us just to hold off.
That would certainly help you out, wouldn't it? Congratulations on pole position, Mervyn. Now, if we just swing around, we've got Matt Luff, our overall pole sitter, who is just down here. Let's go and have a word with him. Matt Luff, I'll tell you what, Matt, you've taken to this front-wheel drive thing quite quickly, haven't you?
Yeah, thank you. That definitely makes up for the qualifying at Cadwell, doesn't it? Yeah, no, I'm happy to come away with pole, obviously. The pace, I mean, I found some clear track, banged in 4 or 5 quick laps, and one was enough to put me on pole, so yeah, I'm really, really happy.
Now, qualifying's one thing, but you've now got to stay there for the race. How confident are you?
It's a tricky one, because this field's so competitive, and starting on the inside or on the front row here doesn't necessarily mean you're going to come away with a win. It doesn't really give you that much of an advantage, especially with a dip and that start of the lap. So yeah, I'm just going to have to keep my nose clean, try and break a gap and just put some quick times in tomorrow.
You've got Jamie up there on the front row with you, and Alistair jumped up to third right at the end of the session as well. So, to your point, there are some really quick drivers and quite experienced Civic Cup drivers there with you.
Yeah, definitely. They're both very experienced drivers. But I'm confident in my own ability, so I mean, I'm sure I'll give them a good run for their money.
Best of luck. Well, a fantastic effort that from Matt Luff and Mervyn Beckett there on their respective class pole positions then for that first Civic Cup race later on this afternoon. Well done, mate. Good luck for the race.
Welcome back, everybody. We are now qualifying for our time attack session.